everyone. We've been getting a lot of questions of people asking us why do we use a baitcaster and how to use a baitcaster reel. So today I will just briefly explain why you use a baitcaster reel and how you actually use one effectively. First thing I'd like to talk about is for a baitcaster reel, what it's good at is actually good for accuracy as well, for casting. So if you say you want to cast under a tree or under some structure or near some area that you want to target the fish and you need that accuracy, a baitcaster is actually good for that kind of application because you are actually using your finger to control, or should I say your thumb, to control the spool. So as you cast towards say a structure, you cast towards it, you can always use your thumb to slow the line down and stop it. So it's good for accuracy. It's good if you know how to use one correctly. It has really good distance as well, as long as you know how to set it correctly. So the next thing I would like to talk to you about is on a baitcaster, there are different types of braking system. So when I say braking system, what I actually mean is that as this spool turns when you cast, there are actually brakes being applied to the spool. So there are different mechanisms of braking. Some use magnetic, centrifugal. So on this current baitcaster that I'm using, which is from 13 Fishing, is actually a centrifugal. So centrifugal meaning that there are these small little brake blocks inside, and this one having six little brake blocks inside. What they actually do is engage this area out here on this side cover. This we call the raceway. The brake blocks actually come out and engage the raceway to have brakes. So now currently I'm having this set on number 2, which is 2 brake blocks, so one on each side. So what that actually does is when I cast, these 2 brake blocks actually come out and engage that raceway to slow down the spool so that you don't get an overrun. The other form of control is also using your thumb. Okay, so if you are a beginner and you have not used a baitcaster before, I would suggest that you turn up the brake all the way to maximum. Put it at maximum. So maximum for this reel is 6. So what you do is then close this back so it's on 6. This adjustment here is very easy. You just turn the dial and it's 6 brake blocks on. So what you actually do is then when you make a cast or you let your lure drop, it mustn't drop really quickly. A lot of people like to use the spool tension knob. This is called a spool tension knob. What this actually does is as you tighten it, it presses onto the shaft of this spool. So it engages the shaft of this spool. And this gives you more additional braking if you like. If you are an experienced angler, you normally don't tighten this. You actually leave a little bit of free play in the spool, which is about 1 millimeter or less. That's the most ideal. That's if you're an experienced caster. But if you are not so experienced and you just start, I would suggest you just tighten this slowly, until the spool doesn't move side to side. And so when you drop, so I'll move back a bit to let you see. So when you drop the lure and it hits the floor, it shouldn't have an overrun. So you see that again, this lure is 10 grams. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to let it drop, hit the floor. Okay, there's a slight overrun there. You just tighten it a bit tighter. So the same thing again. I will drop the lure, it hits the floor. Okay, there's no overrun. So at least you know when you're going to cast, you won't get an overrun on this. Okay? Okay, so with your brake blocks that have been set for this reel, it's number 6. When you drop the lure, it hits the water. Okay, you're very sure there's no overrun because I've tensioned the spool tension knob already tighter. So you take this, make sure the lure is very close to the tip. Don't have this long drop like this is not good. With the lure, it should be very close to the tip, as close as possible. And then you make a cast and we let it drop. Okay, there's no overrun because I've actually set that already. So this is when you're a beginner and you don't know how to use a bait caster, this is how you actually start. Okay, as you get better and better, you're very comfortable with that, there's no overrun. Okay, you should loosen your tension knob eventually when you become better. There should be a slight free play here. So maybe less than 1 millimeter free play side to side. What you then do, it still has 6 brake blocks on. You make a gentle cast out, but before it touches the water, use your thumb to stop the spool. So use your thumb. So you got to keep training. I'll do that again. Do it slowly so you can see it this time. Make a slow cast out, put your thumb here, feather the spool just before the lure touches the water. Stop the spool so that it will not cause an overrun. So as you practice with that and you get better and better, your thumb becomes educated. What you can do is then loosen the centrifugal brake blocks inside here. So from 6, you can go down to 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1, depending on how good you are. Over time, with this reel, I just fish with 1 brake block. Sometimes if it gets a bit windy, I use 2. But that's a good way for you to start off using a bait caster and to slowly practice and get better and better at using a bait caster. Alright? Okay, I hope you guys have learned something today, and do go out and try using a bait caster with the tips that I shared with you. We'll see you on another episode of Fish on TV. See you next time.